Okay, just so everyone knows, the recording is starting and the live streaming is starting since we're only less than a minute away.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's 7 p.m. We'll call to order this meeting of the Town Council. The first item of business is approval of minutes of July 23rd.
Might I ask that you do a roll call to show who was actually in attendance, please?
Thank you. A roll call vote. Councilor Anderson.
Present.
Councilor Golembeski.
Present.
Councilor Mataronis.
Here.
Councilor Moore.
Present.
Lushan here. All five in attendance. Town Administrator also present.
Motion to place the minutes of the last meeting on file unless anybody has any questions or comments on them.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Mataronis, second by Golembeski, placed on file. Any discussion? Councilor Anderson, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Councilor Golembeski.
Aye.
Councilor Mataronis.
Aye.
Councilor Moore.
Aye.
Mushin, aye. The vote is 5-0. Thank you. The next is the special meeting of June 30th. Sorry, correction, the meeting of July 30th.
Motion to place the July 30th, 2020, not 30th, on a special meeting. Kind of threw me there for a minute. I didn't think I was that old, but anyways, motion placed on file unless anybody has any comments or questions.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Mataronis, second by Golembeski. Any discussion? Roll call vote. Councilor Anderson.
Aye.
Councilor Golembeski.
Aye.
Councilor Mataronis.
Aye.
Councilor Moore.
Aye.
Mushin, aye. Thank you. The next item of business is announcements. I have two that are not in the package, but I want to make sure you know about. First of all, the state has done a great extent of testing and evaluating and determined that the non-use of masks contributes to increased positives. So they've asked that we continue to press for masks to be worn in places where distancing cannot be achieved or where masks, if we're indoors, is otherwise required. So I would encourage you to do just that. Second is flu clinics. This is for seasonal flu. The seasonal flu clinics for this year in the town will be on the 6th of October and the 7th of November. More information will be coming on that shortly. Any other announcements that need to be made? Hearing none, the department head reports. I propose that if you agree that I would entertain a motion to place department head reports 1 through 6. That would be the treasurer, clerk, police, building, fire, and tax assessor on file.
I'll make that motion, Bob. That was the motion I was going to make. Unless anybody wants to pull any of the department head reports, I'll place them on file.
Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second that motion.
Motion is made by Mataronis, second by Golembeski to place those department head reports on file. Is there discussion?
Only a comment from the clerk. There is a number 7 on your next page. Would you like to include it or is that separate?
No, that was deliberate. I do not intend to place that on file.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any discussion on the 6 that we're talking about? All right, we'll roll call vote. Councilor Anderson.
I vote aye.
Councilor Golembeski.
Aye.
Councilor Mataronis.
Aye.
Councilor Moore.
Aye.
Mushin, aye. That's 5. Those reports then will be placed on file. The next item is the report from the town administrator. The reason I didn't do that is I need to give him an opportunity to speak to us about some late breaking information on that report. Administrator.
You're still muted. Thank you.
Thank you. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. That's correct, Mr. President. Thank you for giving me the opportunity. I just want to bring everyone up to date or give you an update of the issue that was brought before the council regarding sanitary issues on Sakana Harbor. That has been addressed. The area has been cleaned twice already. We are working in bringing 2 porta johns in. They'll be placed just outside of the DEM parking lot to the right if you're facing the parking lot towards the Rhode Island Road. So there'll be 2 porta johns there going forward. Jim Farrow is making the arrangements, and so we'll have those available. Also, Councilor Mataronas and I took a look at the Fishman's parking lot. And he actually, more than I, did the work in getting the commercial fishermen to remove the vets that were there. So as you go there, there's additional parking spaces, and also the parking lot looks much cleaner than what it was previously. So thank you.
Thanks for that
May I
update.
ask a question, Tony, with
Yeah.
regard to that? I thank you for doing that so promptly. I think it's important. Going forward, what department or what budget is going to pay for the porta johns? Where's that coming from? Have we figured that out yet?
That is a discussion to be had going forward, though. For the time being, we're just going to address it, but you are very correct. That needs to be addressed as to how we will deal with that. Although we're hoping that DEM will come back and replace those. So there's 2 parts to that. One is a conversation with DEM, and 2, if they don't bring them back, then obviously we need to address that.
Thank you.
May I interrupt? Only because I also did the Beach Commission meeting this week as well, and they intend that that's going to be paid for out of their budget at this time.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Motion to place the town administrator's report on file?
Second.
Motion is made by Golembeski, seconded by Mataronis to place on file. Is there further discussion?
I think someone has their hand up.
Oh, thank you. I was writing. Mrs. McIntosh?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, we,
Okay. Thank you very much for addressing this issue. I have 2 points. One is that by having 2 porta johns over by the boat ramp, I'm not sure that the people who are parking to go fishing on the breakwater or go sunbathing on Lloyd's Beach are going to be walking over to the trailer parking area to use a porta john. And I think it's a mistake not to have one right there on the edge of the parking lot where there's plenty of room. And number 2, the Beach Commission voted to approve 1 porta john and only until September 7th. And fishing gets pretty interesting in the fall. The fishermen are going to be flocking, continuing to flock to this area to use the harbor and launch their boats and go out in the breakwater or whatever and go to the beach because weather is nice in September. So I think it's short-sighted to limit the time to September 7th and also not to supply a porta john in a spot that we know is a problem. And even if we have a porta john there, I don't know. I just think it's a mistake. And I appreciate the fact that the fishing gear has been cleaned, picked up there. That's great. That allows for more parking. And I thank everybody for doing everything that they've done to try to resolve this.
Bob, can I respond to that, please?
Yes, I'd like to have both yours and the administrator's response if I could.
As Tony said, we spent probably 2 hours walking the Fishman's parking lot, Rhode Island Road. We walked over to the trailer and parking area where we proposed to put the porta johns is on a cement pad that had been there from a previous house that was removed. I think it's going to be centrally located to the harbor, so people using the trailer launching ramp can get to it. People that may be using the east side of the beach can utilize it. People using the beach can utilize it. It's going to be close enough to the road that it's going to be very visible when cars drive by it. And my understanding is when they're going to put porta johns in, they like to put them together in case somebody's in one, especially with COVID-19. If somebody's utilizing one, the person can go to the other one. So I would suggest that we leave them where Tony and I thought was appropriate place to leave them. And if that does not work out, we can change them around at a later date. Where the people were relieving themselves was an alleyway. I spoke to Curtis Cohane, our Department of Maintenance Department, and also Tony, and we decided that we were going to allow that alleyway to grow in, so there'll be no more alleyway for those people to utilize. So at this time, I think that the decision Tony and I made about where the porta johns are going to go should go there. And I'm sure Tony can speak to Jim Farrell and get them put there. If Jim doesn't want to do that, then maybe the town and the Harbor Commission could fund one of those down there, since it's harbor related. Okay, that's it.
Thank you. Administrator.
Mr. President, yes. As Councilman Mararonis already stated, obviously we made some decisions. However, you know, the whole situation always needs to continue to be assessed to be sure that we've made the right decision. And if adjustments need to be made, we'll do. And also the area will be, I will continue to monitor the area, but certainly would welcome any other assistance to monitor to make sure that we are meeting the needs of the area and avoiding any problems.
Thank you. Any further questions on that? Mrs. McIntosh, do you believe we've addressed your issue?
Yes, I think I'm appreciative, as I said, of all the time people have put into this, and I'm glad that there's some flexibility, and if there's an issue, and I'll keep an eye on it too, because I think it'll take maybe some rocks put in the area to stop people from going in there. I don't know, but we'll keep an eye on it, and hopefully it'll go away.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Our next item is old business and update from the Little Compton Housing Trust on any progress concerning affordable housing strategic planning. Councilor Moore, do you have a comment on that, or?
Yeah, the Housing Trust has not been able to meet. We have a meeting scheduled for next Thursday, August 13th. So can we table this?
Yeah, this item was returned simply because this is the meeting we said we would seek any input, and certainly we can await that input at the next meeting.
Okay.
We'll put it on that agenda as well. Thank you. Next is to receive the proposed contract for the services of a finance director. I am exceptionally pleased to tell you that the work that the administrator has done has just been outstanding. And we are, we believe, at the point of hiring our finance director. Let him tell you about it. Mr. Administrator.
Mr. President, thank you. Certainly, I've had actually, just as of a few minutes ago, I saw an email pop up on my screen, just a confirmation that we have a full agreement from the Joe DeSantis to accept the position, obviously, and to that he's agreeable to the terms. Now, I provided a copy or a draft of the contract to the town council, and certainly I welcome any questions that you may have, but he's agreeable to what I proposed to you.
Gary Mataronis, as you say, you just sent that contract out. I would have liked, everything seems fine on it. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more co-pay on his health insurance. Would that be possible at all, if this contract's set in stone right now?
No, the contract is not set in stone. However, some of the pieces that you were not privy to that I had, and that I thought it would be a hiccup in probably acquiring this gentleman, there had to be some give and take, and this was one of the items, because he was looking for a lot more in certain areas that I don't think we would have, that I didn't feel comfortable doing. But this was one of the areas that I thought we could be somewhat flexible.
So this was a trade-off on another issue?
That is correct, yes. Specifically, he was looking for a sign-on, bonus. And that's something that we haven't done it. That's not a path that I would like to travel at all, and don't look forward to doing that now or ever.
But I think everybody knows, it's always my feeling that all the other unions and department heads look at each other's contracts, and one of them says, well, I'm paying 20, how come he's only paying 10? So I try to make them all kind of equal, so we don't get that back. It's just like when we give them raises, one gets 2%. We've tried to keep the raises all at a level 2% for everybody, but in past history, sometimes some unions have gotten a little more than other unions, and then the following year we pay for that. So that was my only comment. But other than that, it seems like a good contract.
Thank you.
I'll move we offer the position to, I'm sorry, I'm going to mispronounce his name. So
DeSantis.
Mr. DeSantis, with the contract terms as specified and set out by the town administrator in the last email he sent out to us.
Second.
The motion is made by Golembeski, seconded by Mataronis, to make the offer or make the contract with Mr. DeSantis as proposed by the administrator. Comments?
Mr. President? Ask a question.
Councilor Anderson.
Effective date of agreement, that's when you expect his start date to be, end of August?
That is correct, yes. To give ample time for him to be on board, one, to walk through payrolls, also a tax collection, and also council meetings. I think it's important that he be at least at one of the council meetings and be fully aware of the process for the payroll specifically.
As well, that will allow him to participate in the audit, which starts in earnest in the September timeframe.
And also, if I may say, also a tax collection, that's important for him to walk through one of those as well.
Then the other 2 points I'd like to make is again to second Bob's comment about the challenge it has been to do a job search for this kind of position under current circumstances, both for you, Tony, and the others who worked through this process, and a challenge for the applicants as well. So I was very pleased to, perhaps that was also a benefit to getting some people because other people's job circumstances have changed. So maybe we got a good applicant here partly by virtue of the circumstances. But anyway, I thank you for keeping this on track and on schedule under these circumstances. The other point I would make in response to your comment about the trade-offs that go into this is that I take Gary's point about the share of health, but I do think that we have to be mindful of incentives to attract and keep good people in a position like this. So I look at, for instance, the salary, weigh that against the health insurance. That this looks quite reasonable to me from the town's point of view.
Thank you.
Any further discussion? I'll ask a roll call vote on the motion. Councilor Anderson.
I vote aye.
Councilor Golembeski.
Aye.
Councilor Mataronis.
Aye.
Councilor Moore.
Aye.
Motion aye. Thank you. And again, Administrator, thanks for the great work.
Thank you.
Please proceed to execute said contract. The next item of business is a report from myself on any new special directives or extension to declarations. I've included in your package an item which I entitled Special Directive 5. Its purpose was to extend in order to bridge a small gap between our expiration, which was July 31st, and our council meeting, which was August 6th. I therefore extended the state of emergency due to, I extended the state of emergency through the 21st of August. It will be our practice in the future to seek the council's approval in the second meeting of each month, Thursday, the 20th of August being the next one, so that the council can act on this and deliberate and decide to extend. I would anticipate we would be seeking a month at a time, and that would be our normal practice. In this particular case, I did this in order to keep us in a state of, to keep our status in a state of emergency. We need not be personally in a state of emergency unless that's something that is what you need to do. Any questions on that? All right. The fourth item of old business is to award a bid for a drainage project on Swamp Road and Long Pasture Road. Administrator.
I'm not sure, is Bill Moore? No, I don't think Bill Moore is on, is he?
I don't.
No, he's not.
He is?
No.
Oh, okay, then I will report on that. As you know, we had 10 responses for the, or 10 bidders. And out of the 10, we narrowed down your request from to 3, eventually 2. And those 2 was East Bay, let me make sure I read these correctly here. Was East Coast Construction in Catalano. And because they were so close, the 2 Bills, Bill Smith and Bill Moore, opt to meet with both of them on site and to determine from the 2 as to who would be able to carry on the project timely and effectively. And we've come to the conclusion that the East Coast Construction should be the bidder to be awarded the contract.
Bob, can I speak on that, please?
Yes.
I did speak with Bill Moore at length about this. He, as you can see, Catalano is from Cumberland, so if there's any problems, I'm not sure how responsive they would be. And East Coast Construction was involved in putting the new launching ramp in. I found them to be very responsive, anything that I requested, very amenable to do whatever I thought was appropriate down there. And even though they're a little bit more expensive than Catalano, no, actually they're $50 cheaper, but if there's any problem, I think it's easy to get somebody from Portsmouth. So I would agree with Bill that East Coast Construction would be the one that I would recommend.
Thank you.
That be a motion, Gary?
That would be my motion, Paul.
All right, I'll second it.
The motion has been made by Mataronis, second by Golembeski, to select East Coast Construction as the contractor for the performance of the Swamp Road, Long Pasture Road drainage project. Is there further discussion? I'll call for a roll call vote. Councillor Anderson.
I'll vote aye.
Councillor Golembeski.
Aye.
Councillor Mataronis.
Aye.
Councillor Moore.
Aye.
Motion is aye. There's 5 in favor. Thank you. If you'd make, Administrator, if you'd make them aware of that award.
Certainly, I will do that. And Mr. President, if I may mention,
Yes.
all others were, a letter was sent to them to thank them for submitting a bid. So
Thank
they've all been, showing appreciation from us, from Little Compton.
All right. Thank you. Our next item is new business, in which we're accepting the resignation, or I'm proposing to accept the resignation of 3 members of the Board of Canvassers. One is a regular member, Susan Chase. The other two are alternates, Claudia McNeil and Laura Walker. I would propose, or I would seek a motion to accept with appreciation the resignation. That's not the right way to say that. To accept the resignation of the three ladies and express our appreciation for their service.
So
I'll make
moved.
it. Second.
Councillor Golembeski moves and Councillor Mataronis seconds the motion that I outlined. Is there further discussion? Roll call vote. Councillor Anderson.
Aye.
Councillor Golembeski.
Aye.
Councillor Mataronis.
Aye.
Councillor Moore.
Aye.
Motion aye. Thank you, ladies, for doing that. The next is to consider approval of the following nominations per Article 202. I am to nominate to you and you are to consider for approval based upon advice in some cases or my own nomination. I would propose that Kelly Harlow replace Susan Chase as recommended by the Democratic Town Committee and report to you that the committee intends to continue to seek a recommendation for the alternate position.
I'll make
Go ahead.
that motion.
I'll second it.
The motion is made by Mataronis, second by Golembeski to appoint Kelly Harlow to the Board of Canvassers. Is there further discussion? Roll call vote. Councillor Anderson.
Aye.
Councillor Golembeski.
Aye.
Councillor Mataronis.
Aye.
Councillor Moore.
Aye.
Motion aye. Thank you. The second is I nominate Rose Strokes to replace Laura Walker as the alternate from the Republican Party.
So moved.
I'll
Moved by
second
Moore,
that.
seconded by Mataronis. Is there further discussion? Councillor Anderson, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Councillor Golembeski.
Aye.
Councillor Mataronis.
Aye.
Councillor Moore.
Aye.
Motion aye. Thank you. Rose Strokes is appointed. I think that covers the Board of Canvassers at this point. Next
Thank
item.
you. I just wanted to say thank you.
You're welcome. This next item of new business is to reappoint Andrew Moore to serve as the town's representative on the Discover Newport Board of Directors to expire September 2020.
I'll make
That term does expire in September 2020.
I'll make that motion, Mataronis.
I'll second it.
Motion made by Mataronis and seconded by Golembeski to reappoint. Any further discussion? Roll call vote. Councillor Anderson.
Aye.
Golembeski. Councillor Golembeski.
Aye. Aye. I'm sorry.
Councillor Mataronis.
Aye.
Councillor Moore.
Aye.
Motion aye. Thank you. The next item is consider a request received from Councillor Anderson regarding withdrawal and recusal of Town Solicitor Richard Humphrey from Christina Carlson et al. Versus Town of Little Compton Town Council et al. And the response of the Town Solicitor. Before we begin discussion on this, I have two comments to make. One, I believe this issue is properly seen or heard in executive session if it's going to be heard, because it speaks to the performance of a town official. And I think that ought to happen. The second thing is this particular subject is one in which the public has been increasingly and continuing to question how it is that we're handling the finances associated with this. What I don't want to get into is another unnecessary expenditure of funds in order to create an answer. Here's what I'm proposing. I would propose that we place this request on file, and I would propose that we charge the administrator with reviewing the package and reviewing it with the solicitor and returning to us with a recommendation on how to proceed. Can't say strongly enough how much I believe we are discussing this matter needs to be done in a very careful fashion, is my opinion. Now, let me also tell you that I've spoken to no one else about this. None of the counselors are aware. Councillor Anderson, the person who submitted it, is unaware of my position. So I want to lay that on the table as my my attitude from my years of service in this position as to how we ought to handle this.
I'll second that motion.
That this is, my article, my business is on the table. My business is on the table right now.
Larry, I second the motion. We can have discussion now. It's your turn to discuss it. It had to be second before you could move
Well,
anything.
I was not given the opportunity to present my own business on this, on the meeting. Mr. Mushin preempted my agenda item. I object as a matter of procedure.
Object all you want. You can speak on it now.
Well, is there a motion on the table or not? I believe that I have been preempted improperly on an agenda that I put on the agenda. That's a public record at this time.
Mr. Anderson, I did not pose a motion. I've been unable to speak to clarify that fact. I simply outlined the process by which I intended to proceed.
Thank you.
Now, I would ask in any comments that you make that you at least consider what I've said.
Well, I appreciate your point of view, and I will be thinking as I speak here. I point out that what I have provided you is a cover letter with substantial other information. And I have seen the solicitor's response. He has recused himself from this matter on an initial point. It's totally inappropriate for him to be consulting with the town administrator on this matter. That's straightforward. I don't see how that motion can go forward. What I had proposed to do, it's already a public record, was simply to read the letter, which has a simple request, which is to my cover letter, my 2-page cover letter to the council. It's not addressed to the solicitor, which requests that we hold an executive session for the purpose of talking with Mr. Galvin about the status of the litigation. That's what the substance of my letter is. The other stuff is for the record. It's informational. I'm not really talking about Mr. Humphrey. He's already recused himself. So I'm going to begin reading this letter unless you stop me. I'm going to read this letter. And with regard to executive session, we're not compelled to hold an executive session. We may hold an executive session. The law doesn't provide that.
I'm not suggesting, sir, that we are under an obligation to do so. I'm suggesting that that is the proper way in keeping with the Open Meetings Act and its protection for those who are subject to discussions.
That's not what the Open Meeting Act says. It says we may hold a meeting for job character. That's up to us. It's not up to the individual.
I understand that. I'm not seeking his approval. I'm not proposing to seek his approval.
Well, I'm going to read the last.
Can I make a point, just a quick point of order? I don't mean to interrupt you, Larry. Just, where are we? Is there a motion or not a motion on the table?
No,
There
there
is
is not.
There is not.
there is
Okay.
no motion on the table. I did not.
That's all I'm asking. So we're having a discussion
Correct.
about something that there's no motion on right now.
There's no motion. It's just Larry's for his letter to be heard on the agenda.
If I may, may I just read one sentence of my letter that doesn't mention an individual. It says, for that reason, I respectfully request that the town council schedule an executive session with Mr. Galvin as soon as practically possible to discuss the status of the Vineyard case. I make that as a motion.
I would just make one comment before that gets seconded. I don't believe that Council Anderson can be in that executive session because he's on the opposing team, so to speak, with what the subject's about.
That's baloney. That's baloney. That's baloney. I have gone to the executive, I have gone to the advisory commission, ethics commission twice, given them detailed information about all my affiliations. There is no, I have no status that's any different than any of you at this point. And the ethics commission has said that. So if you want to make that case, you're going to have to do a better job than that.
Well,
Excuse me. Let me say this.
I did second the motion, by the way.
Thank you. I didn't hear it, but thank you.
Let me say the following. We you have asked me to get Attorney Galvin to speak to us. I have spoken to Attorney Galvin regarding the timing of that. He has suggested that he could come at our invitation if we wished him to do so. He proposes that the arbitrator make a decision beforehand. Otherwise, he would be giving us an incomplete report. That seemed until tonight reasonable to me. That's the reason that I haven't asked him to come. You did ask me to speak with him, and I did speak with him. And that's what he told me, is that he did not feel, he is willing to come if we invite him. If this motion is carries and we invite him to come with part of the story, he can certainly do that. I don't believe there's urgency to that unless there's something I'm not considering. Therefore, I told him that I felt we could wait.
I'm being asked to pay a $3,600 bill tonight from Judge Williams. We can be anticipating another bill from Mr. Galvin. The bill is totally cryptic. I do need to know now what's going on, in my opinion. I believe we've been in the dark.
Sir, that is my story. We are paying and continue to pay for a mediation in which we do not have a stake. Our town council will, at the next November, whoever those 5 people are, will decide the entertainment license for this party. We don't have a role at the moment, yet we are paying for someone to continue to carry it out.
That's not why we're here. That position was taken by Mr. Humphrey and Mr. Galvin. It was rejected by the motion. We are compelled to participate in the arbitration. We should know what's going on. We don't know what that award is going to be. We need to know now what's going on. I will stop. That's my position. I will not approve any more bills on this case until we've had a chance to talk to our attorney. That's my position.
I thought that we were out of that. I thought the judge released it, so I don't know why it's not between the parties that have the conflicts, why the town is.
Because the mediator stated that all 3 parties would share equally.
That's what you agreed to. That's what the town agreed to. Our lawyers were wrong in telling us we were out of it. That's why I want to hear from them.
Okay, you do have 2 hands up. I don't know whether you want to hear from, oh, actually 1 hand went away, so you have 1 hand up. Or whether you are interested in casting your vote before you hear. It's up to you.
I would like to include that in the discussion of any motion that's made. We don't have a motion on the table.
Okay. Well, you do have a motion on the table now.
Larry made a motion.
Larry made a motion and Andrew seconded that he respectfully requests that the town council schedule an executive session with Mr. Galvin as soon as practically possible to discuss the status of the Vineyard case.
Thank you.
Made and seconded.
Thank you. Is there further discussion regarding that motion?
I believe Mrs. McKenzie wants to speak.
Mrs. McKenzie.
I'd like to ask, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'd like to ask why Mr. Anderson cannot read that letter aloud. I think it's very hard, given how it's presented, to understand what that letter might say. I believe if this is going to go forward, the town is owed that letter either be published. If you will not include it, it will be published, I would guess, in the Secana Times, and I think they would publish it if requested, or you simply let Mr. Anderson read the letter now so that the public that is out there who is listening, they are not the greater public, but the public is given the
May I respond to that,
opportunity
Mr. Motion?
to hear it.
Yes. Yes, go ahead.
I appreciate Mr. McKenzie's suggestion, I think under the circumstances, given, my point was that I think the motion is sufficient. The letter is public. It's
It is.
available at the town's website now in the packet that's available at the,
Yes.
so it is available. And, you know, I might prefer to read it, but for the purpose of the discussion, and the thrust of my letter was summed up in that sentence. These other issues that are matters of concern about the rights of others and so forth, I appreciate, but I understand, I appreciate Mrs. McKenzie's suggestion, but from my perspective, I'm happy with the motion as is, and I'm prepared to act on that.
Is there further discussion?
I'm still there. I would like to suggest then that if that's the case, that he be able to read it now, or I will call tomorrow and make sure the Times publishes it. I think it should be published. I think what you're hiding, as I understand it, is a conflict of interest that is so important to this town. We have a solicitor who's working two sides of the.
Now, if I could interrupt you, I implore you to not make those statements in this forum. I understand your point.
Why can one not make these statements? What is?
Because were this to be in any circumstance in which an employee of the town's performance was being criticized, that employee, in my estimation, should be given the opportunity to speak to us in executive session.
With that, I agree. But he should have Mr. Galvin there as well, which is the request that I believe was made.
Yes, that is the motion that we're entertaining, is to bring Mr. Galvin here sooner, or to bring him as soon as possible. Is there further discussion? A call for a roll call vote. Councillor Anderson.
Aye.
Councillor Golembeski.
Nay.
Councillor Mataronis.
I have to say yes.
Councillor Moore.
Andrew, you're still muted.
Aye. Sorry.
Mushin, aye. There are 4 ayes, 1 nay. The motion carries. I will convey to Attorney Galvin our desire to have him come to executive session as soon as feasible, and I will interact through the clerk with all of you to determine when that can be.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
The next item of business is communications. It's a public notice of a draft general permit for stormwater discharge. I see no comments there. I believe that this can be placed on file unless there's someone who thinks otherwise.
Second that motion.
That's not a motion, sir.
Well, I'll make the motion.
Thank you.
I'll second that one then.
Motion is made and seconded to place the document on file. Is there further discussion? Councillor Anderson.
Aye.
Councillor Golembeski.
Aye.
Mataronis.
Aye.
Or
Aye.
Mushin, aye. The next is a public notice of a zoning board hearing on property within 200 feet of the old burying ground. That property is owned by Leslie Fox, and she's seeking a variance from lot coverage on a lot located at 14 Commons. We are being
Motion to
notified
place on
as,
file unless someone has an issue with it.
Second.
the motion has been made by Golembeski, second by Mataronis, to place this on file. Is there discussion?
Just Bob, I wasn't sure what you were going to add. Is this property just adjacent to the town?
It is. We are being notified as a 200-foot abutter. Is that accurate, Carol?
Yes, that's accurate.
Okay. And you don't see any issues? Do you
I
see?
do not.
No.
The zoning board is our properly appointed entity to make that determination. I don't think we have any interest to weigh in.
Thank you.
I'm sorry, I've lost track.
Motion was made and seconded.
Thank you. We'll vote. Councillor Anderson.
Aye.
Councillor Golembeski.
Aye.
Councillor Mataronis.
Aye.
Councillor Moore.
Aye.
Mushin, aye. Thanks. The next is some good news. A letter sent to the town administrator from the executive director of Rhode Island Resource Recovery announcing a rebate of nearly $1,250 coming to us due to the COVID-19 rebate approval, which comes as a result of the increased trash that we've been hauling as a result of there being a COVID experience. So not everything about COVID is a negative.
Motion to place the letter on file.
Second,
Motion made by Golembeski, second by Mataronis. Further discussion. Counselor Anderson, how do you vote?
Aye.
Counselor Golembeski,
Aye.
Counselor Mataronis,
aye.
Counselor Moore.
Aye.
Motion aye. Thank you. The next is the abatement list from the tax assessor.
I spoke with the tax assessor at great length about this when I was in the town hall this morning. This was the top three was a assessment by the Board of Assessors for a tax appeal. This was the decision. The rest of them, as you can see, one of them was quite an increase. And the other one was just clerical errors or DMV errors. So after speaking with her, I was satisfied that we should go ahead and approve these abatements.
Would that be your motion, sir?
That would be my motion, sir.
I'll second that one.
Motion made by Mataronis, second by Golembeski to approve the assessor's abatement list. Is there further discussion? Counselor Anderson,
Aye.
Counselor Golembeski,
Aye.
Mataronis,
Aye.
Counselor Moore.
Aye.
Aye. The next is the consent calendar.
Motion to place the consent calendar on file unless anybody wants to pull something for discussion.
I'll second it.
Motion is made and seconded, made by Mataronis, second by Golembeski. Is there discussion? Call for a vote. Counselor Anderson,
Aye.
Counselor Golembeski,
Aye.
Counselor Mataronis,
Aye.
Counselor Moore.
Aye.
Motion aye. Thank you. The next is the payment of bills.
Motion to pay the bills.
Second.
Motion made by Golembeski and seconded by Mataronis to pay the bills as specified. Any further discussion? Counselor Anderson,
Aye.
Counselor Golembeski,
Aye.
Counselor Mataronis,
Aye.
Counselor Moore.
Aye.
Motion aye. Having no further business before the council, I declare the meeting adjourned.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Oops. We didn't put the reports on file.
Yeah, you did.
But did we already do that?
Yeah, they were in the very beginning.
Oh, sorry about that. All right.
Thank you. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you, Bob. Thank you,
Hey,
Carol.
everybody.